things, but what he said, the most important tool is the measuring tape. And they said, why is the measuring tape the most important tool? And he said, because I can know the right size from the wrong size. He said, imagine that I have to work on the kitchen cabinets, and I have a whole bunch of measuring tapes, and each one has a different standard. Some in inch, some in meters, some in completely made up measuring style. And every piece of wood that I do, I use a different measuring tape. What kind of kitchen would I get? The drawer is not going to fit in a cabinet, and the door is going to be a completely different size. And the whole cabinet, the whole kitchen, no matter how good, no matter how beautiful the surface is, the kitchen would be completely useless because it's not going to fit together. It's not going to fit the intention or the intended specification. And Allah has the best of examples. Allah gave us the legislations from Him, and He said it is one legislation, comes from one God. And whenever you start mixing where you get the ruling, where you get the legislation, you get into trouble. And that's why whenever you look at the Quran, about every single page in the Quran, it talks about Tawheed. And Tawheed means you follow the path of Allah 100%. And that's why Allah would never accept shirk, because shirk means that you get the ruling and the legislation from different angles and different sources. And that's something that Allah would never accept, because you will never get the right thing, the right intended product. We live in an environment, brothers and sisters, where people in general, they might accept a God. They might accept that there is a creator, but they're not accepting one ilah. And that leads us to a key distinction that's mentioned in the Quran, where Allah tells us that if we were to ask the Qurayshis, the pagans, who created the sky and earth, they would say Allah is the one who created them. They don't have a problem with creation. What they have a problem is when you say He is ilah. Because ilah means He is the source of legislation, the do's and the don'ts. It changes your life. It changes the path that you walk on. And they have a problem with that. So that's why the minute that the Prophet ﷺ says, قُولُوا لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ تُفْلِحُوا, say La ilaha illallah and you're going to be successful. They were very mad, and they said, أَجْعَلْتَ الْآلِهَةَ إِلَهًا وَاحِدًا, you made all the legislations, all these measuring tapes, you want to make them one? We are not going to accept this. Because then I can't bring my fake measuring tape and put it on the table. I can't bring my own pleasure or my own desires to the table. I have to follow one path. And the community that we live in, you see how people have changed. You have the Christians who believe in one God. But they changed it so they would have multiple gods. But they would say, well, there's one creator. But when it comes to legislation, then they bring their mind into it. And now what we see is that people started deviating away even from one creator to say, we just came randomly. And what we see in this month, this is the month of pride, brothers and sisters, where people say it is okay to celebrate, to support, to go hand in hand with the LGBT community and support them and go to their rallies. What about us as a Muslim? As a Muslim, we go and we hold on to the rope of Allah, and we say, Allah says, La ilaha illallah, we follow His path, and we would never follow the path of anyone. And now we have people who call themselves Islamic thinkers. Islamic thinkers, they want to bring their mind to the table here. But Allah says, this is the path. Follow La ilaha illallah, which means that you follow Islam, and these acts are never acceptable. And these acts are never supported by the Muslims and never acknowledged by the Muslims. May Allah unite all of us on His path, on His term, on the path of Tawheed, La ilaha illallah, wa jazakumullahu khairan kathiran, wa assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.